Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. We welcome you all to this January sessions of YUVABHARATI. Let's start with our usual prarthana. I request Dr. Chandrasekhar ji to start the prarthana for us. Thank you.
Om Sharada Sharadam Bhojavadana Vadanambuje Sarvada Sarvadasmakam Sannidhim Kriyat Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Bharati Karunapatram Bharati Padabhushanam Bharati Padamarudham Bharati Tirthamashraye Vidya Vinaya Sampannam Vitaragam Vivekinam Vande Vedanta Tattvajñam Vidhushekhara Bharati.
Sadguru Charanarvinda Bhyam Namaha. So over the past sessions, we saw the life, our existence propelled by the kamanas, the desires, desire to live, desire to acquire knowledge, and also desire to enjoyment, activities that cause happiness, all our activities to do with our happiness. And for the kamanas, for fulfilling the desires, we need the artha, which is the means of fulfillment. So we saw different means of fulfillment, and one of the important means of fulfillment is our human sharira, human body. So we have heard from Doctor, all of us, that shariram kalu adhyam dharma sadhanam, isn't it? So here we are to discuss about our human body. Human body we get by birth, and the longevity of human body and the mind to do with it for success. Today, we welcome you all. We have with us Dr. Chandrasekhar ji to moderate this session and enlighten us about human body, its longevity, and the mind for its success. Body, mind and body together from the birth and all the way to the end. How they are intermingled, or one and the same, or is important for our living and fulfilling all our desires, especially. Fulfilling our desires is nothing but, happiness. Happiness is the only thing that we want. So at any cost, we want to sort of cut down or, eliminate our sorrows. For that, we need our human body for the action, for the karmas, and the mind, which is the control center as well. So we invite Dr. Chandrasekhar ji. Dr. Chandrasekhar ji is a practicing Ayurveda doctor based in Bangalore, and he's helping a lot of people, a lot of youngsters in following Sanatana Dharma as well, and conducts regularly classes, giving Bhasha Patas in the Prasanatraya. And he also conducts classes on Lalita Sahasranamam as well, and giving explanation to different forums. And recently, he has been awarded the Spiritual Excellence by Tattvaloka, an outfit of our Sringeri monthly magazine that you all know. And Dr. Chandrasekhar ji is very well known in his practice and his practice of Sanatana Dharma. And let's hear from Dr. Ji. So a brief description about Sharira, first of all, and then we'll see where the questions are coming from the youngsters on the panel here. Thank you. Over to you, Doctor.
Today's topic has been body, mind as a tool for longevity and success. So we have heard in previous sessions about dharma and the basis for to carry out dharma, which is karma. When the Shastra says achara prathamo dharma, and to sort of follow and practice of dharma through achara, the only tool that is used is the sharira and mind together. And as Sharda ji just said, it's only the happiness that any individual wants through any of his actions. So we have to understand what is the connection between dharma, karma, sharira, manas, and sukha. So to dharma is a very, very big word. You see, in Jaimini Maharshi says, Atindriyatva dharma. Dharma itself is supposed to be atindriyatva. You can never see dharma. Okay? You can only see the manifestation of an action and not dharma itself, is what he says, which is very, very true. Because we have heard about what dharma is in our previous sessions. It's on a macrocosmic level. But when it comes to achara, when it comes to the physical body and mind to perform a ritualistic way of dharma, then we have to understand dharma from the point of view of sharira and mind. Sharira, which is the gross. So nothing should be sort of understood without the basis of Shastra, that we all know. So let's see what Shastra says about dharma with respect to sharira. Okay, it says dharana dharmaha sa atma samavetaha karya darshananumeyah. It says, when it comes to dharma of physical body and mind, it says dharana dharmaha sa atma samavetaha karya darshana anumeyah, which means that there is a particular innate system which is dharma present in the body along with the atma which is present inside, and the only way that you can assess dharma is through karya, what you do through the physical body and mind. So you have to do an assessment or an anumana of whether this person is doing dharma or adharma through his karya. Okay, so such a beautiful explanation of dharma with respect to sharira and manas. Okay, so it is dharana dharmaha sa atma samavetaha karya darshananumeyah. Now, when we have to talk about longevity and success, body and mind as a tool, how should it be that if a person has to be long living and also succeed, being very happy? So what does the Shastra say? What is the basic criterion that has to be satisfied? So it says, dharmartha kama mokshanam arogyam moolam uttamam. It says, dharmartha kama mokshanam arogyam moolam uttamam. Okay, there is a twin sentence to this also. It says, ayuh kamayamanena dharma artha sukha sadhanam. Let us very briefly understand these two. Dharma, artha, kama, mokshanam, arogyam, moolam, is very simple to understand. So, if a person has to pass through the sequence of dharma, and from dharma it is artha, from artha it is kama, and then eventually it is moksha. Even if you have to pass through this particular phase, one after the other, a person has to be arogya, and it is the root of all this, which is it. An individual needs to have uttamam, the best of health, if he has to follow dharma, and also through dharma if he has to have artha, and according to artha if he has to have the right kama, etc. And finally, even for moksha, he has to have the best of health of both body and mind. Okay. On the other hand, look at this second sentence, this twin sentence, which says, Ayuh kamayamanena dharma artha sukha sadhanam. Ayuh kamayamanena. If one has to aspire for all these, dharma artha kama moksha, then with less lifespan, he cannot achieve any of these. So he has to sort of aspire for a dirghayushya. So one who yearns for ayu, which is dirghayu, then that is the only way that he can have a long lifespan, is only through following dharma, arthas, and sukha, sadhana. That becomes the sadhana. Here, when dharma, artha, we all know, there are two types, which the two things of sukha is of two types, is what it says. Sukha in Ayurveda also, it says there are two. One sukha is only an abhasa of sukha, not exactly sukha itself, which is the materialistic thing. And the other sukha is the actual sukha, which is none other than moksha. Okay. So here, what the gist of this is, for any kind of happiness, whether it is materialistic or moksha, the only tool that has to be used and is in use, will be in use, is the physical body mind complex. Okay. With a very healthy lifestyle and a long life. Only if all these are put together, all four purusharthas can be attained. This is the basic gist. Okay. Any questions, please?
Namaste, Dr. Ji. So, as you explained, there's no doubt that we all want a dirghayushya without any diseases. But will you be able to explain what is the basis for such a healthy and a long life?
Acha. So now you see, if the question, if I were to understand the question properly, what are we supposed to do? What is the pillar for a healthy long life? So there are two things here. One is healthy life. The other one is long life. So first, let us know what is health. What is healthy? Okay. So Shastra says, Samadosha samagnischa samadhatu malakriyaha prasannatmendriyamanaha swasthaha, it says. So what does it say? What is health? So how do we understand if a person is healthy? Is if all the functional aspects in the physical body, all the physiological processes at the cellular level, at the tissue level, at metabolic level, etc., including circulation, the excretory, reproductive, all these things, if all the physiological functional aspects of the gross physical body, along with prasanna atma indriya manaha, if there is a prasannata is being very composed, balanced, and the pleasantness of indriyas, manas, and the pratyagatman, such an individual or such a state of being is what is termed as swastha. Okay, so this is swasthata, or an ideal healthy state of being. No. What is long life? What is the basis for an individual to have a dirghayushya and arogya both put together? Is Shastra says, it says trayopastambha. Trayopastambha. Upastambha means other than the main pillars, there are three upastambhas which basically hold the entire house once you walk in. So similarly, if this is the body on which something is, if the adhara is there, once the main adhara, once we enter, what are all the three upastambha is, it says ahara, nidra and brahmacharya. Okay, trayopastambha, on which an individual can have a very long healthy life. So you should understand that there are three. One is ahara, next is swapna or nidra, third is brahmacharya. All these three form the trayopastambha. Let me briefly explain to you as to what ahara, nidra and brahmacharya is. Ahara, we know it is aharyate galat adhoniyate ityaharaha. That is, whatever that is consumed from the oral cavity and gulped down the throat is all ahara. Aharyate galat adhoniyate ityaharaha. So ahara doesn't mean it is only any hard substance that we eat. Okay, so it is water, etc. So I'm sure you all know bhakshya, bhojya, choshya, lehya. All these four types of ahara that we have. So ahara is one of the main things which forms the pillar for a healthy long life. That is, what kind of an ahara, when do we eat, what do we eat, in which season do we eat, what part of the day do we eat while sitting or standing? Okay. So what kind of a manas do we have while eating? The manas behind the preparation of food, etc., etc. It is quite complex and very, very deep. Okay. Now, when it comes to nidra, also it is the same. So there are all rules and regulations for nidra as to when are you supposed to sleep, how should you sleep, when not to sleep, etc., etc. Third being brahmacharya. Brahmacharya, you see, brahmacharya means, it doesn't mean actually just a celibate who is not grahastha. Okay, here brahmacharya means a person who has all his indriyas in his control. That is brahmacharya. So there are two: naishthika brahmacharya, who is a brahmachari who has not got into grahastha. There is vaivahika brahmacharya also. In fact, in our Sanatana Dharma, Vedic Sanatana Dharma, this plays a very, very important role in following Dharma, even for a Grahastha. There is Brahmacharya, practicing of Brahmacharya even in Grahastha. So these three are the main pillars for a very healthy long life. Next question.
Just one, please. Yeah, before Shyam. Beautifully, it is, you have been explaining. Can you just, doctor, tell us in English terms of, ahara means, food and the 4 types of food that we consume?
Yes.
And
So,
the other question is, does brahmacharya apply only to men or to women also? Thank
very
you.
nice, very nice, very nice. So, ahara is food, but here any liquid food is also considered food. Okay, any liquid is also considered food. So when I said about bhakshya, bhojya, choshya, lehya, so the 4 things are where you chew, where you bite, where you chew, where you lick, and where you drink. So these 4 are the different types of food that we usually consume. Okay. Now, the next question that you asked is brahmacharya only for men or is it also for women? It is also for women.
Thank you.
Okay. When I say women also, having the indriyas and control is for an individual, for every individual, because we should always not forget the paramapurushartha, and that is our ultimate aim. Okay, so in order to follow that, this particular rule of practicing brahmacharya is for everybody.
Thank you. So Shyam, do you have any question? Please.
Yes.
Go
Namaste,
ahead.
Dr. Ji. Thank you for explaining it so beautifully, how to be swastha. However, my question is like, in spite of whatever we do, these days it's so common for us to see people falling sick all of a sudden. So I'm sure there are many reasons for such cases. And few days ago, I woke up with a fever and I had no clue of why, it happened. So my question is, can we know actually what are the reasons for such illnesses?
So generally, unless we understand the cause for any illness, it is very difficult to sort of be aware. And if we don't have a fear factor about any disease, then our arrogance is at peak always. So let us just briefly know what are the causative factors. So it says kalartha karmanam yogaha hina mithya atimatrakaha samyak yogascha vigneyaha rogarogyeka karanam. I'll repeat. Kala artha karmanam yogaha hina mithya atimatrakaha samyak yogascha vigneyaha roga arogyeka karanam. So it says there are 3 things: kala, artha, and karma. So any person does any action in a particular framework of time, kala, and whatever he's doing, he is doing it for the sake of some materialistic benefit, artha. Okay, and the karma, what we do in order to obtain that particular materialistic benefit, is karma. Kala, artha, karmanam, yogaha. So the combination of an individual, what he does, the kind of karma that he does, at what time, to achieve whatever he wants to achieve. This combination, okay, if this particular thing is executed, okay, kala, artha, karmana, yogaha, hina mithya atimatrakaha. So if a person has to achieve what he wants to achieve according to dharma and be happy, then it has to be a samyak yoga, the right combination and the right proportion with respect to time and action. Suppose he does not do it. Suppose there is a lacuna in time. If there is a lacuna in doing an action, or suppose he is aspiring for something wrong, which is not really good for him, then he lands in trouble, which is a disease. Okay. Similarly, if the combinations fall in a wrong order also, suppose I am not supposed to aspire for something, and if I do, suppose I am not supposed to sleep during daytime, if I do, suppose I am supposed to do some work in order to attain something, and if I don't do, okay, this also lands an individual in a problem or a disease. If I overdo, okay, suppose watching television for a very long time, okay, looking at the mobile, switching off all the lights, covering the blanket, okay, and looking at the mobile in darkness, okay. Now it is both mithya and atimatraka, okay. So extending the connection between the indriya and artha in an unnatural way lands a person in a diseased state. So this is the basis of any individual who lands in a diseased condition. So this body and mind has to be in coherence with the artha which he has to achieve. If he doesn't do optimum, or if he misuses the body as a tool, if he overuses the body as a tool, in all three conditions, he will have a disease. This is the thing. Any other question?
Namaste, doctor.
Amma, you're on mute.
Sure, thank you. Anybody else wanting to ask any questions, please go ahead.
Namaste, doctor. I just want to have, ask you a question. Thanks for all this guidance. If we go back in the timelines, we see our ancestors, like they never had, any diseases, or we have never seen falling ill very frequently, or some rare diseases, or we have never heard of. But now if we see, even youngsters, even young children, they are, we see they are diagnosed with a lot of new rare diseases, which are unheard of. So why is this happening? Is it like because of the lifestyle our ancestors had, or was it because of the food quality of the food they used to have? Why all these things are happening? And nowadays we have a situation like where health index of a city or anything is measured like by the number of hospitals what they have in any city. So I don't know, is it right in the first place? Or why this is deteriorating? What is the reason behind this?
So it's a very apt question, probably asked. Okay, so if we have learned that by following dharma, it is going to be arogya, then if you go back on the contrary, if somebody is ill, it means he has performed adharma or he has not followed dharma. Okay, so Shastra says, Purvajanma kritam papam vyadhirupena badhate. Okay, so papa is a result of adharma, as we all know. Now, so if you looking at the question, if you just go back, so what was the background, what was the environment, say even 150, 200 years ago, and why people were healthy in spite of not being wealthy in terms of money and luxury. Okay, now that is because people used to follow dharma as prescribed in the Shastra, number one. So what happens if you follow all the rules and regulations as per the Shastra, if you follow Dharma, then you have rains at proper time, you have food grains with a very good quality at the proper time, which you consume, and your digestive capability is good, and you perform actions at the right time, at the right way, which will lead you to health, which will in turn lead you to happiness. Now, what is happening is, as we all know that there are four purusharthas, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, people have completely given up following dharma and moksha. Nobody aspires for moksha. Nobody also follows dharma at all. So it is the mind is always clinging on greedily only to artha and kama, not keeping in mind of one's ability and criterion if he really has to sort of aspire for any kind of a material benefit. So the main thing here is lot of arrogance with respect to self. Self, I mean the body and mind. So people think that, I am responsible for the actions that I'm doing, and I can take care of myself and things like that. So Shastra, let us see what Shastra says here, very briefly. It says, if you look why is the situation today like this, and go back to the Shastra, you will know. It says, asatmya indriyartha sanyogaha, number one, prajnaparadha to parinama effect. The first one, it says asatmya indriyartha sanyoga. Satmya is a balanced, coordinated union of indriya and artha. Okay. Now, I will give you an example. A child of 2.5 years. The teeth have not been formed properly. Okay, they are not firm enough. But parents now are sort of, so they take pride in giving a child of 2 years pizza, dosa, some hard substances, heavy for digestion, burgers, bread, all these things. Now what happens is, here it is asatmyata, that is, there is no balance between the teeth or the mouth and the tongue, the indriyas, and food that the child is eating. Okay. Now, though the child doesn't know, the parent should know, and parents obviously know. Knowingly committing a mistake is prajnaparadha. So if there is asatmyata of indriya and artha, knowingly committing a mistake is prajnaparadha. Why is it knowingly committing a mistake? If I know that my grandmother did not follow such a rule, I should not follow. How did my grandmother know? From the Shastra. So it has been trickling down in timeline. Now, because we don't follow dharma, because we follow only artha and kama, we just want to take pride in our wealth and showing off and things like that, taking pride in all these things. So the indriya and artha don't fall in place. So it becomes prajnaparadha. If you knowingly commit a mistake, then the parinama is disease. Okay. So that is asatmya indriya artha sanyogaha tasya prajnaparadha tatah parinamaha. So if a person knowingly commits a mistake, he is bound to suffer, which we see now. So knowingly we know we are not supposed to work having a laptop, I'm sorry, but I have to mention all this. So we know we should not work on the laptop for more than a few hours, but the very system is such that people spend 12 hours to 14 hours to 16 hours on laptops, then finally land with spinal problems at the age of 35, usually which arises at the age of 70. Okay. Now this is a very clear indication of asatmya indriyartha sanyoga, prajnaparadha and parinama. So this can be applied to anybody and everybody in the situation now which is present.
Thank you,
Wonderful.
Doctor.
Wonderful. So very profound message here for young and the old as well. So there is no escape. So you're nicely mapping, and we are also following the sequence now. So we went from karma, artha, and dharma, when bound by dharma, karma and artha bound by dharma. So we are starting from the dharma, the purushartha, dharma, artha, kama, how instead of dharma precedes. So our human body, which is a sadhana for the dharma, has to come first, is the foremost important thing. So we had a wonderful session, and the youngsters who participated today are in the IT line, and young professionals. Some of them are in the IT line, some of them are other engineers as well. So very nice questions, and very nicely answered by you, Doctor. So this is part one of our session, this month's session. So what would part two be like? So we want to know, just to sort of to say that what was going through my mind was, we get this human body by birth. So it is not like a production in the assembly line where, we produce cars or anything, it is all the same. But that is not the case with our human body. Each of us are different, and each of our sort of human body, mind, and karanas and, indriyas are different. So shall we talk about why we are different, and why our human body, and how we acquire this body by birth? And we will elaborate a little more on the indriyas also, karmendriya, jnanendriya, and we can, and the dhatus, the physical part of the body as well, and how, they integrate, and how the food that we digest, assimilate, how it becomes myself. I want to know that as well. So shall we do it in the next few sessions, Doctor? And
Yes, yes.
just to give a
Absolutely.
glimpse to the viewers as to what they can expect from the next session, can you give us an
Yes.
insight, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So now we have known basically that by following dharma, there is arogya, and by not following dharma, there is dukkha or roga. So there is an automatic an expectation, a desire in each individual to be happy always, whatsoever he does. So if I have to be happy, it only means I should not fall sick. If I don't have to fall sick, if I should not fall sick, then I have to understand where have I gone wrong, what leads to this particular disease. Because this is not the first time that I'm having my body and mind complex here. So it has been there since time immemorial. So what gave birth to me like this with this particular disease? So all this particular, right from here to what am I supposed to eat? What actually happens inside me when the food gets digested? How the composition of my body and mind, how it helps digest my mind, digest the food, and also converts the same into other tissues, only to enable it to sort of act through dharma to achieve happiness. So the sequence of purva janma, punarjanma, and the basic composition of the body, that is the indriyas, the Jirna Shakti, the digestion, etc., all these will be taken up in the next session.
Thanks a lot. We look forward to it. Thank you so much. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Sadguru Charanarvindabhyam namaha. Thank you.